I'm Rolene Marks. Welcome to Modiin and Beyond. Join me every Sunday between 3 and 4 on Radio Modiin as we take a look at what's happening in Modiin, Israel, and beyond. It's Sunday, it's that time, it's 3 p.m., it's time for Modiin and Beyond with me, Rolene Marks, where we take a look at what's going on in Modiin, in Israel and beyond. And so many of you come from beyond Israel. We are delighted that the city has so many people from South Africa, from the United States, from England, from Canada, from Brazil, from France, all over the world, coming home to make Israel their home. But for many Olim, trying to settle in, settle down, find their friends, find their communities is sometimes a very, very challenging process. So where do you look? Who do you turn to? I am joined in the studio by the fabulous Tricia Schwitzer, Deputy Chairperson of ESRA. ESRA is the English Speakers Residents Association here in Israel. We've got branches in Modiin. But Tricia, first of all, welcome to Radio Modiin.
Thank you. It's great to be here, Rolene. This is exciting.
This is exciting. Now tell me, who is ESRA?
It's a very interesting question because there's so much more to ESRA than you would think. Yes, it's Israel. It's Israel's English-speaking Residents Association, but that's how it began. That's how it began around 40 years ago. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. It began sort of by bringing in the Olim and acclimatizing them to the country and giving them a social life. But now it's so much more. It's almost difficult to explain. But I'll try.
Start at the very beginning, and then you can tell us a little bit about this wonderful magazine, the ESRA magazine. So many of our Olim know about it or hear about ESRA because you have a fabulous magazine.
Right. So what is ESRA? First of all, ESRA is an Amutah here in Israel, and it stands on three principles, I would say. First of all, it's a volunteer organization. It is when I say it's a volunteer organization, there are very, very many areas of volunteerism, some in the magazine, some locally, and also in our national branches in the national branches and in the projects. And the most important thing to me is the projects. But ESRA has about 2,000 volunteers. The magazine has a great readership, and if you're an English-speaking person coming to Israel, it's very daunting, as you know.
It is daunting, and one of the best ways of finding your feet is looking for somewhere to volunteer.
Exactly, and in ESRA you can really feel it because, for example, we people who've come from abroad, we want to give back. And in ESRA, there are thousands of opportunities to give back. And that's a good way of getting the people interested. First of all, ESRA has many activities for New Olim and for Vatikot like us. There's lots of Zooms and events, cultural events, educational events, all sorts of events which might interest you. And there is also the projects which are, let's say, volunteers come, they want to make a difference. Some people like to volunteer doing one thing or perhaps working in an office, whatever, but some people really want to get out there with the kids, with the people. And that's it. That to me is ESRA.
So there's something for everybody.
Yes.
It's a place for everybody to feel at home. And recently we've had to welcome as a country many refugees from Ukraine. Ukraine, as everybody knows, has been invaded by Russia. The situation there is a war on the ground that has resulted in millions of people fleeing the country. And tens of thousands of them have come here to Israel for help from Israel, and we are so geared towards helping those coming in. And we know not everybody is going to stay. And ESRA, who is used to helping Olim, some Olim have come from situations where maybe, the aliyah hasn't been that of personal choice. They've maybe been forced to flee their countries, or anti-Semitism has risen around the world. So ESRA has pivoted during this very, very critical time to help deal with the plight of Ukrainian refugees. Can you share a little bit about how you're doing that?
Yes, it was actually very, very emotional what happened. You know, it was all over the news, and we all thought, we've got to do something for these people who are coming into Israel, because, you know, that a lot of them are coming with literally the clothes they're standing up in, and they don't have anything, and they may come with infirm parents or with babies. So we launched an emergency appeal, and it was really quite sweet because we launched it in a very small way. We didn't spend money on anything. We just literally put a few lines out, help. And we were actually overwhelmed with the amount of donations we got from people all over. And what did we do with the money? We work with the Ministry of Aliyah, and we take our direction from them. And obviously we wanted to look after people's really immediate needs, because that's what we can do with money. So we got lots and lots of tlushim, how do you say that? Like gift
donations, and vouchers.
We bought super farm vouchers for people, because you know yourself, you always need stuff from the chemist. So that's what we did, and we help various individuals in many other ways than that. But it was our way of doing it.
It's really, really extraordinary. And it just goes to show the open-heartedness of the people of Israel. I know that the government has been assisting where they can. We've got incredible non-governmental organizations like yourself. As you mentioned earlier, you are an Amuta, that is an NGO that's on the ground helping people really deal with the immediate needs that they face when they have to come into a foreign country. And an organization like ESRA has to make plans for the future. And in order to make plans for the future, you have to ensure that you've got the necessary succession planning in place. And I know that this is something that you are very, very passionate about. So tell us a little bit about how ESRA works with that. Do you have various groups that are specific to different age groups? So maybe, I don't know, maybe you want to be a leader in ESRA, or maybe you're a single and you're looking to mingle. Is that a way that you can become involved?
There's all of that and more.
So you find ways for singles to mingle?
Absolutely, yeah.
You heard it here, ladies and gentlemen, looking for a date.
Particularly, we have one particular group, which is the 40+ group, which are, you know, Olim and people who've lived here, and it has also a group which is called Get It Right in Israel. So that is specifically for Olim, and they have lots of they have many Zooms and events with professional speakers. For example, whatever, you know, you come to Israel, you don't know, for example, what to do. You know, you don't know what your rights are. You don't know anything, and they have many speakers who go through a broad spectrum of subjects that are of interest. Plus, as you said, perhaps to meet and to mingle, they do have lots of events for young women, men, and young families, which are really geared towards that age group. And recently there was cleaning up the beach. They went with all the families and whatever, and it was great. I mean, it's all on our website. You can see everything on the website. And they've had many events which are geared up to that age group, with speakers, Zooms with speakers for a specific audience. They don't want to listen to people like me because I'm old. They want to be with their peers. Now, this is one thing that I'm very impressed by ESRA is that ESRA has recognized the need for succession, because like in any other NGO or non-profit organization, many organizations started way back. For example, this ESRA started 40 odd years ago, and that generation has aged, obviously. And if they don't think about their next generation, their coming generation of volunteers, of leaders, they just have to. And ESRA is really hot on that. They invest in the 40 plus groups, and they invest in making sure that there are that there's interest. Even, for example, their Facebook groups for the 40 plus, perhaps some of those events, an older person might think, oh no, that's a bit, but it doesn't matter. It's not about us. It's about the young ones. Now, a lot of those people are still working. They're professional, and they perhaps don't have as much time to volunteer as someone my age. That's okay, because we're just getting them, and we're just getting them interested. And we're going to organize groups where they'll go and see the projects, and they will fall in love with ESRA. I can guarantee that that will happen.
Well, very, very passionate about ESRA. That's the English Speakers Residents Association here in Israel. They're across cities, across our beautiful country. And now, if people want to become involved in ESRA, find more information about ESRA, where do you direct us to? Tricia Schwitzer, Deputy Chairperson of ESRA.
I would first of all direct you to our website. It's a very, very comprehensive website, and it has everything that you need. For example, if you're not interested in joining and you just want to perhaps go to an event or see what's on in your area, that's on the website. Everything is on that website. So the website is www.esra.org.il. And I do think that's a great place to start.
And you're on social media as well.
Of course, Facebook. We're on social media. We have our Facebook page, and we also have many groups for the different sort of areas of ESRA.
It's Tricia Schwitzer, the Deputy Chairperson of ESRA. Thank you for coming to chat to us on Radio Modiin. I'm Rolene Marks. This is Modiin and Beyond. And here is Every Leader with HaMizrach HaTichon.
למה את בוחרת בסדנה? בסדר, אני עוד מעט חוזרת, טוב? יאללה.
המזרח התיכון, אנשים שיגעון, זה החום שעושה אותם ככה. וכאן פתחנו שולחן, מצפון תל אביב עד רמאללה, יואו. איך שבא לי לרקוד, לחזור לעבוד, להרים עם כולם כל הלילה. ואש זה ממש מתבקש, תפסיקי לחשוב על זה הלאה. בוא, כל בית ישראל חזק מתפלל, זה כתוב וזה בא מלמעלה. וכאן האזרח הקטן מחכה למשיח בלילה. מחכים שיבוא, שיביא לנו אור. לא סיפור תלכי שסיפרתי לבני הבכור. מחפשים, אנשים, רק ביחד נצליח להיות חזקים. המזרח התיכון, אנשים שיגעון, זה הלחץ הסר אותם ככה. אז בוא רגע לפה נדבר על דברים ששכחת. איך יפה המדבר אפילו שקר, שמיים פתוחים של הלילה. איך יפה הצפון ועד החרמון, לא צריך סקי באיטליה. כמה בא לי איטליה, כמה בא לי צרפת או אפילו אנטליה. לעלות על מטוס לכמה שעות ואז יאללה הביתה פה. כל בית ישראל חזק מתפלל, זה כתוב וזה בא מלמעלה. וכאן האזרח הקטן מחכה למשיח בלילה. ומחכים שיבוא, שיביא לנו אור. לא סיפור תנכי שסיפור לבנייה בחור. מחפשים, אנשים, אבל אחד נצליח להיות חזקים. הבידוד שסוגר אותי, והלחץ גומר אותי. 3 ילדים בלימוד מרחוק, זה לא צחוק, זה אוכל אותי. איך בא לי איטליה, כמה בא לי צרפת, סנטופה או בריטניה, גרמניה, הונגריה, יפן, תעשים טוב ורק לא צ'יינה. נעוף מסביב לעולם והביתה.
Every leader, Mizrach HaTichon, the Middle East getting a lot of attention and sometimes not all positive. You know, several weeks ago, the boycott, divestment and sanctions movement, known to many of us as BDS, who really sprang into global consciousness around the UN conference against racism in Durban in 2001. And they seem to be absolutely fixated with delegitimizing the state of Israel, the nation state of the Jewish people, and have launched campaigns of delegitimization to back up this kind of project. And one of the most egregious is the mapping project that happened in Boston just several weeks ago. And with me on the line is the head of operations for the International Legal Forum, Asher Stern. Asher, welcome to Modiin and Beyond.
Hi, Rolene. Thanks for having me.
Now, several weeks ago, BDS, or at least the Boston chapter of BDS, launched this campaign, this mapping project. Can you tell us what was it exactly and why has it caused so much concern?
Of course, gladly. So it depends who you ask. According to the Mapping Project's own website, their goal is to, and I'm putting big quotes here, reveal local entities and networks that enact devastation so that we can dismantle them. Now, to me, if I'm just reading that, it sounds very noble. But that's the trick. The BDS movement has always been so good at hiding their poisonous message with honey and making it sound so amazing and so caring. But that's not the case here, as with all of the other BDS incidents. No one would be held wrong if they thought that by just reading this from the outset that this was an honorable cause.
It sounds very social justice-y. It's wrapped up in that beautiful language of social justice.
It's very well packaged. But when you open up that package, you see the poison which is inside. The groups that are listed on this mapping project are Jewish institutions. Some of them have nothing to do with Israel. I'm talking high schools, synagogues, organizations that serve people with disabilities. All of these groups, their only crime in the eyes of the BDS movement and the mapping project is that they are Jewish. Now, it goes on, you know, if that wasn't bad enough, it goes on to say and use rhetoric like Zionists in the United States and Israel use their influence to enable a range of oppressive agendas. This rhetoric should sound familiar to most people because it's rhetoric that is used by extremist organizations, and it has fueled, unfortunately, in the recent years, many attacks against Jewish institutions in the United States. You know, If I can name a few off the top of my head, we're talking Conway in 2007, the Tree of Life in 2018, the 2022 hostage crisis in Texas, and every single one of these perpetrators had used similar language with, you know, completely unrelated injustices, but they blamed the Jewish people. At the end of the day, Rolene, this type of work and their words leads to scary results on the ground. This map puts a very simple thing. It puts a target on these institutions. This is saying, here they are, this is their exact details, go and get them. And that's a scary reality to be living in 2022.
Because I fail to see how a kindergarten or a center for disabilities or disabled people is really going to embark on some kind of nefarious campaign. But this does seem to be the modus operandi of the BDS project or the BDS movement. And this kind of language, to me, takes us back to a very, very difficult time in our history as Jewish people, when we were labeled and othered. And they're very clever. They seem to me to be very clever not to use the word Jewish, but couch it with that Zionism. You know, we like to say on social media, oh, there's that anti-Zionism, not anti-Semitism again. Why do you think BDS is doing this?
Look, you said it very eloquently, Rolene. At the end of the day, there have always been these type of anti-Semitic lists and attacks. Unfortunately, anti-Semitism isn't going anywhere. But this one is where BDS made a mistake. They have exposed their cause. At the end of the day, we both know the BDS movement doesn't care about the Palestinian people. It doesn't care about justice for the Palestinian people. If it did, it wouldn't boycott. It would help them promote work and job opportunities for the Palestinian people. The BDS goal is very simple. The BDS and its founder organization. Their goal is the total and utter destruction of the Jewish state. They're anti-Semitic. They don't care if you're a Jew in Israel or the Jew in the US. And as long as their venomous anti-Semitism has a place to grow, they'll continue to attack the Jewish people. Now, what they've done with this project, which is important to note and extremely worrying, is that BDS Boston and other BDS-based groups in the US supported this project. You know, they're very open. Twitter was awash with their support of the mapping project. On the other hand, you had the Boycott National Committee, the BNC. This is based in Ramle. It's an umbrella organization that, in this umbrella, has organizations that are designated terrorist groups by the United States government. And they wrote a letter, which they conveniently was leaked to the public, which said that they support, of course, they support you know, the Palestinian cause, and in this letter they say they support the so-called by any means, including armed resistance. And in the same letter, they called for BDS Boston to distance themselves from this mapping project. Now, I promise you, the BNC did not grow a conscience. These terrorist organizations did not grow a conscience. They're saying we're okay with armed resistance against the Jewish state. We're okay with anti-Semitism, but PR-wise, what the mapping project does for us is bad. They're saying we have a problem with how this looks in the media. This shows a schism in the BDS movement that's very worrying, because a terrorist organization like the BNC is saying this is too far, and it's being supported by BDS Boston and by other BDS organizations in the United States. This is how far extremism and how far this hatred is going. I mean, you're basically saying BDS Boston is okay with something that the terrorist group doesn't agree with. PR is what worries the BNC. They, you know, disagree with it.
Well,
but at the end of the day,
disagree with it.
Sorry?
They disagree with it, in inverted commas.
Exactly. They disagree with it because it looks bad for them in a PR level. That's all. The BDS movement in Boston is saying we don't care about PR. We're going to show this. The world needs to know that these, like you said earlier, Rolene, these children's institutions or these organizations that only care about helping the people that are disabled are Zionist and bad and must be destroyed. And it's ridiculous.
Now, how has law enforcement reacted to this? Because those of us who work here in Israel in advocacy or in the legal profession or in public diplomacy know that there have been ties between terrorists or terror organizations, and the boycott, divestment, and sanctions movement. The now defunct public diplomacy department or strategic diplomacy department that the government had exposed this in a dossier or in a document called Terrorists in Suit. And we know that there were certain Palestinian organizations that have been designated by our government as terror organizations. But how has law enforcement, specifically law enforcement in the United States, reacted to this?
100. Okay, so in the US, you saw the moment the mapping project was launched, on the Congress level, you saw a bipartisan group of 37 Congress members that pushed for a federal inquiry into the mapping project. And on the ground level, the FBI had said that they were going to monitor the website for ongoing or more threats against the Jewish people. Now, I don't need to tell you, and as you said, we see it. Those of us that work in public diplomacy or in the advocacy sphere, and everyone should know about it. Anti-Semitism is on the rise. You can see it in the FBI figures. You can see it in the latest ADL figures. But steps like this, like a bipartisan letter of 37 congressmen demanding an inquiry, the FBI taking a stand saying we're going to monitor it, is crucial, because where the mapping project is based, in the northeast New England region of the United States, anti-Semitism is up by 42%. So it's crucial that you have on the ground the FBI saying we're watching, we're aware, congressmen saying this is too far. This happened on the ground with this project, and it was bipartisan. And it shows, on one hand, how important this issue is, and on the other, how crucial it is that this happens as it is launched. When you've got a bipartisan issue, anti-Semitism needs to be a bipartisan issue. Hatred needs to be a bipartisan issue, and it was. In this case, 37 congressmen who pushed for a federal inquiry, and the law enforcement on the ground, being the FBI in this case, saying, we know, we're watching, we're aware, and we're monitoring the situation.
Is there any kind of legal recourse that will be taken against this besides the partisan letter saying that this is anti-Semitic?
So, as the International Legal Forum, it's in our name, we want to look at, obviously, the legal realm that we can do and deal with. The most crucial thing is, that, like I said, the coordination with local authorities. At the end of the day, the FBI is the authority on the ground that will deal with any criminal aspects, and the Congress in the United States is the one that needs to deal with legislature. In this case, like I said earlier, words have power. This type of project in the current climate could have a direct incitement to violence against Jewish institutions. And if that happens, action must be taken on both the civil and the criminal avenues against groups that promote this kind of divisive incitement, anti-Semitic full hatred. At the end of the day, if this leads to violence, you have legal avenues that must be taken. These type of groups must be called out because that's what it leads to. Words have power, and these words and this project could lead to directly impacting Jewish institutions with on-the-ground violence, God forbid.
You quoted Poway earlier on. You spoke about several other incidents earlier on. This is where we do see that words do have power. We often say that the Shoah, the Holocaust, didn't start with gas chambers. It started with words. I don't think we're being hysterical in any way to be very, very concerned about projects exactly like this. And, very often it's poo-pooed as it's right-wing anti-Semitism. We expect it from those neo-Nazi right-wingers. Asher, are we in danger of similar projects or similar incidents like this spreading around the world?
Look, unfortunately, anti-Semitism is on the rise not only in the US, it's a worldwide phenomenon. It's London, Sydney, Cape Town, where I was born and raised. It's happening.
I thought there was a similar accent here.
Yes, I've been in Israel for a while, so it's a little bit thinner, but it's still there. It never goes away. And at the end of the day, it might happen. You might see projects like this spreading worldwide because hatred is becoming not only easier to spread, but it's becoming more acceptable. Anti-Semitic statements on Twitter, Instagram, people are just tweeting and getting retweeted or posted, and it's easy. Now, yes, it's possible that something like this could happen or spread worldwide, but I also think that it's not all doom and gloom. At the end of the day, it's on us, those who are pro-Israel, those who want to stand up for democracy and fight against hatred, it's on us to ensure that there's something to counter this, whether that's education on the grassroots level, teaching the next generation on how to counter this hatred, or, as I said, working with lawmakers or politicians to ensure that there are laws on the books to counter it once this hatred shows its head. There are ways that we can fight back and we can push back because, yeah, there's a rise. Anti-Semitism, hatred is on a rise. There's nothing to deny. And those who deny it need to just look at the news and look at the statistics. But together, we have to stand up. We have to ensure that the next generation and this current generation has the tools to fight against anti-Semitism. Because at the end of the day, darkness can be pushed away by one candle. And if we really stand together and we do our parts to not be afraid, because at the end of the day, anti-Semites benefit when we are afraid. But we need to stand up, know how to counter it on a legal level, on a grassroots level, on a public diplomacy level. Just be able to stand up and say, I know how to stand up against you, and be proud of our values and be proud of what we believe in. And that way, we can all ensure in our small way that tomorrow looks a little better than today does, and the future looks a little bit brighter.
And speaking on Radio Modiin, and we have a lot of people here who live almost in a bubble. They're in Israel. Everybody's relatively safe. Should we be involved in fighting anti-Semitism around the world? What would be your message to people in Modiin going about their daily lives in Israel, the Jewish state? What would be your message to them to get them involved in the fight against anti-Semitism?
I think that the most important message that I can give is, yes, we live in the Jewish state, the only Jewish state, the only state that we have, but there are millions of Jews around the world who don't have the IDF to defend them. They feel like they are alone. And we need to reach out our hands and show them that they're not alone, that, the Jewish state is here, it's not going anywhere. And not only does the Jewish state care about anti-Semitism, fighting anti-Semitism, the people who live in Israel care about it. Because it's very easy to feel alone when hatred is in front of you. When you're in New York or when you're in South Africa and you feel this venom and hatred, you feel alone. You don't feel like there's anyone that's got your back. But if we, every individual in Israel takes that mantle up and says, I'm going to learn a little bit more. I'm going to reach out. When there's an anti-Semitic incident, I'm going to show that I care, educate myself. Then we can show the rest of the world that we're united against hatred. Because, united, there's nothing we can't do, whether we're in Israel, whether we're outside of Israel. And that's the true power of the Jewish nation. We have a state, we have our country, after thousands of years of not having anything. And now is the time to be united against the people that are trying to, destroy us, whether we're in Israel or in the United States or anywhere else in the world.
Asher Stern, Head of Operations for the International Legal Forum. Where can we find and follow your work if we're looking to follow you on social media or a website?
Obviously, the ILF, www.ilfngo.org, Facebook, Twitter, we're on all of those platforms. And my personal email, people can be free to email me, asher@ilfngo.org. Reach out, we're here, we will gladly help whoever needs it in whatever way to ensure that we're all united and that we can really fight against this venom and hatred, and we will not let it win.
Asher Stern, thank you so much for joining me on Modiin and Beyond. I'm Rolene Marks. This is Radio Modiin. Just a quick reminder that if you want to be in touch with me, you can email me at rolenemarks@yahoo.com. That's ROLENEMARKS@yahoo.com. If there's anybody you want to hear featured, or hey, maybe you want to be featured yourself, you have a hot business, you have a hot organization that you want to talk about right here on Modiin and Beyond, all you have to do is email me there. I'll repeat that email address. It's ROLENEMARKS@Modiin and Beyond. Some of you who have my WhatsApp number have been sending me WhatsApp messages. Thank you so much. I've got a lovely one from Justine Friedman. Looking forward to hearing our next guest, who will be in studio momentarily, Dani Korach from WisdomPowerKids. But while we get Dani in studio, here is an oldie, a goldie, Jerry Rafferty, Baker Street.
winding your way down Baker Street, lighting your head and dead on your feet. Well, another crazy day. Drink the night away and forget about everything. This city desert makes you feel so cold. It's got so many people, but it's got no soul. And it's taking you so long to find out you were wrong when you thought it held everything. You used to think that it was so easy. You used to say that it was so easy. But you're trying now. Another year and then you'd be happy. Just one more year and then you'd be happy. But you're crying now. Down the street, there's a light in his place. He opens the door, he's got that look on his face, and he asks you where you've been. You tell him who you've seen, and you talk about anything. He's got this dream about buying some land. He's gonna give up the booze and the one-night stands, and then he'll settle down in some quiet little town and forget about everything. But you know he'll always keep moving. You know he's never gonna stop moving. 'Cause he's rolling, he's the rolling stone. When you wake up, it's a new morning. The sun is shining, it's a new morning. You're going home.
רדיו מודיעין, התושבים מדברים. רדיו מודיעין, התושבים מדברים.
מה יהיה? מתי כבר נמכור את הבית?
אתם צריכים תיווך עם לב.
כשמוכרים דירה עם לב.
אז ביום ראשון יש לך הופעה בשלט ליד הקניון, עולים בשעה 9 לדיגיטל בסיור מעריצים בין 4 ל-6. עם מי את מדברת? עם הדירה שלך. יש לך פה כוכבת. באמת? אפשר סלפי?
כשמוכרים דירה בלי לב.
אני לא מבין למה אף אחד לא מגיע, לא פרסמת את המודעה?
אני אמרת שאתה מפרסם.
אמרתי שאני מחרסם, הייתי באמצע הגזר.
כשמוכרים דירה עם לב.
אז מה אתה מחפש בדירה? אתה טיפוס שמתחייב? הבנתי, אז אין לך אישור עקרוני למשכנתה. טוב, היה נעים להכיר, אבל עם הלב הזה לא משחקים.
כשמוכרים דירה בלי לב.
אז מה אתה מחפש בדירה?
מעולה, גם אני אוהב קירות. יאללה, בוא נתקדם. כשמוכרים דירה בלי לב. מצאתי לנו קונה.
די, באיזה מחיר?
ממש טיפ-טיפה מתחת למחיר, שנמצא מתחת לקו השחור, שמתחת לקו האדום של המחיר שאמרנו שלא נרד ממנו לעולם.
כשמוכרים דירה עם לב.
מזל טוב, הדירה שלכם נמכרה במחיר אבל זה מעל הקו הירוק, שמעל הקו הכחול של המחיר המקסימלי שחשבת עליו.
את הבית מוכרים רק בבלעדיות עם לב הנדל"ן. תתרגלו להגיד נמכר, בהנהלת כרמית בירנבאום. שלטק מודיעין הוא מתחם עבודה שיתופי ליזמים וחברות. בשלטק תמצאו עמדות עבודה אישיות, משרדים סגורים, חדרי ישיבות מרווחים, מרחבי הדרכה משודרגים, בקיצור, כל מה שעסק בצמיחה צריך. שלטק, עסקים שגדלים יחד.
מחפשים חוויה משפחתית שוברת שגרה? דייט מוצלח ורומנטי? חוות צהלה מזמינה אתכם לרכיבת שטח חווייתית במיוחד. בתוך הנוף עוצר הנשימה של עמק איילון. חוות צהלה, תתכוננו להתאהב. לפרטים 055-662-6773.
טרייד סטיישן, אפליקציית המסחר זוכת הפרסים. לסחור רק עם הטוב ביותר. אליט פלטפורמס, המקפצה הפיננסית שלכם.
רדיו מודיעין, התושבים מדברים. רדיו מודיעין, התושבים מדברים.
You heard it here, folks. Radio Modiin. This is Modiin and Beyond. I'm Rolene Marks, and I'm joined in studio by Dani Korach, the founder of WisdomPowerKids. Welcome to Radio Modiin.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Dani is a powerhouse lady. She is very, very passionate about children, their mental well-being. I think mental health is a subject that's really growing in attention, especially after the last 2 years where we have navigated such traumatic years, children being in lockdown, not being able to socialize with each other. We've been locked in our homes. We are now emerging, but there is a lot that we have to deal with.
That's absolutely right.
And there shouldn't be any kind of stigmas around discussing mental health. So you are so passionate about children and their mental well-being. Tell us about WisdomPowerKids. What gave you the idea to start it?
Okay, so it started about 7 years ago. I was on this personal development course for myself personally. You know, normal stuff. I'd always suffered with anxiety, you know, the usual stuff that us neurotic Jewish women go through, you know. And I was learning all these mind-blowing tools and techniques, and I'm just spending the whole time thinking, why am I learning this now? I don't understand why. Mid-30s, I'm just learning this now. Great, fantastic, it's never too late, but at the same time, this would have been a lot more useful to me in my teenage years and 20s, etc. So then that set off a little epiphany moment. I thought, well, whilst I'm learning it for myself, I have 3 kids of my own, and I'd love to be able to teach them this new information that I'm learning. And I searched, and there was very little that was focused on children. Okay, it was mainly adults, all the Tony Robbins, all the Mel Robbins, all those things all those people that I follow who are all amazing, but it was not focused on kids. And then I found this course in the US, and I certified in their program, a wisdom coach. So I'm a certified wisdom coach. And what we do is we teach kids how to develop their self-confidence, their self-esteem, how to build their resilience, how to manage the ups and downs, the normal ups and downs of life. And at the same time, after I finished that wisdom coach course, I also started studying CBT. So CBT is cognitive behavioral therapy, and I combined the two to create my own program, essentially, that helps kids from the age of about 8 years old, sometimes a little bit younger, but I think 8 is a really good age, to understand that what they're going through is normal. Okay, there's no shame in it. Everyone has failures, things that they do wrong perhaps in school, and they can, you know, Asha said before how powerful words are, and that's exactly right. But the words that we tell ourselves are incredibly, incredibly powerful. So when we're telling ourselves, you know, self-talk, for example, or, you know, I'm stupid, I'm rubbish, I'll never be able to do that, that's really going to affect what we're able to achieve. Now, as an 8-9-year-old, that can stop you from putting your hand up in class, or from putting yourself forward. If you think no one likes me, for example, you're not going to go and try and be friends with someone new because you've got this negative self-talk going on. So I teach kids to be very aware, be very, very self-aware of the thoughts that they're telling themselves, to catch it and to analyze it a little bit. Is that true? Is that very kind, the thing that you're saying to yourself? So I teach them about their inner critic and their inner coach and how to listen out for it. And most of us have this negativity bias. That's just normal humans. It protects us from doing anything that's new or exciting or anything like that. And when we understand that voice that we hear telling ourselves that we're not good at this, it's not true. It's not true. But when kids aren't taught that, they believe it. They hear this thought and they think, well, it's got to be true because I'm saying it. When I teach kids that thoughts are not facts, and we can actually go, we can challenge that thought and change it. And suddenly, by changing your mindset, by changing your words, you're actually changing your mindset. And you suddenly become a lot more empowered, which is why the name Wisdom Power Kids. I want to empower kids to be able to handle things in life, because whether it's a test that they didn't do as well in. Just as an example, you can tell yourself, you know what, I'm stupid, I'm never going to try it, this, forget it, I'm not doing it. And you throw the work away, I'm not doing it. Or you can tell yourself, right, I'm feeling a little bit disappointed right now. I think, I would have liked to have done better, but I know that if I get back to it, I'll try again and I'll improve in time. I may not be perfect, and that's fine. That's something else I teach kids. We're human. We're not supposed to be perfect. We all make mistakes. We all fall, we all trip, we all break stuff. That's fine. Not to get down on yourself just because that happens. We're human. That's a normal thing to do. So these are the sort of running themes that I help kids to understand. We learn a lot about growth mindset. Growth mindset, I don't know whether you know anything about it, but growth mindset is as opposed to a fixed mindset. Normally, as adults, most people have a fixed mindset, but as children, as young children, we tend to have a growth mindset. A growth mindset is the idea that if we put in effort and we put in the time, we will improve. Now, we all have a growth mindset generally as a baby, because every time we fell when we tried to walk, we picked ourselves back up. Every time we were holding a knife and fork and we couldn't do it, we tried again. But at the age of around 8, 9, 10 years old, we start switching to a fixed mindset, because we're becoming more aware of the people around us. We're becoming more aware of the teachers, what they said. Oh, you're no good at maths, or you're no good at this. And that's suddenly, oh, well, maybe I'm not good at maths. Maybe I won't try again. And it starts affecting us. It starts creating our belief systems that we go forward with for the rest of our life. And that's pretty dangerous if we don't learn to check into it early.
That's where that stinking thinking starts.
Exactly right. That catastrophizing. Absolutely. That's my go-to.
So many times that
stinking thinking. Exactly.
Thoughts create things.
Absolutely.
That you create your whole
absolutely
your life through your thoughts. I know we're both huge fans of the Duchess of Cambridge. Some people know her as Kate Middleton. She is a big believer that when you start to work on children when they're young, or what you teach children, how you listen to children, how you teach children to speak to themselves, actually affects them when they're old. It can cut back on things like addiction and various issues. It's her life work through the Royal Foundation. And of course, judging by your accent, I know that you're not originally from around the same parts as I am.
I only made Aliyah 3 years ago.
But for the mom or the dad that's listening right now, and they're looking at ways to help their children, because if we help them now, we create a better society in the future, don't we?
Absolutely. So I don't think there's any shame. I always tell parents, would you be ashamed to send your child to swimming lessons? No. Tennis lessons? No. Similar to what I do. We're not doing anything that's embarrassing. This is genuinely life skills, mindset skills. This is how humans work. So I know that if I'm feeling anxious, as I was before, to do some deep breathing, to calm myself down. I know what's going on in my body now because I've learned about it. Many, many years of not knowing what was going on in my body made me feel very anxious, because I would feel nervous. Perhaps I would get a headache, my stomach would hurt, and then I would think, well, what's going on with me? I've got a tummy, there's something wrong with me. When I understood that, actually, I'm a human. My body is doing exactly what it's supposed to be doing. And by teaching kids that, they don't need to have this additional worry. They know this may feel a little bit uncomfortable right now, but I know I'm safe. Nothing's going on right now.
And it's okay to have feelings.
And it's absolutely perfectly fine to have feelings. So what we do in all of our sessions is both proactive work so that when they are in a situation that they're feeling a little bit anxious, they're better prepared to deal with it. So for example, every day I will, in between sessions, I'll get them to become a little breathing detective. So we do different breathing techniques every week. I teach them different techniques, and then they go off and they give me a rating out of 10, how they did with it. And sometimes kids will tell me, I was feeling really, really nervous. I was going to school and I remembered what you said. And I did some breathing. I said, and did it help? Yeah, it really works. I'm like, yes, it does work. I haven't created anything. This is how humans work. If you take some deep breaths, you flood your prefrontal cortex with oxygen, everything calms down, your amygdala can calm down. I don't teach them in that way. I teach them in a more age-appropriate way. But just giving them the tools and skills and strategies so that they can handle the ups and downs of life. That's really basically what I do.
So important. Now, so many of us say, I wouldn't want to be growing up now as a kid with the pressures of social media, which are just absolutely mind-blowing. Yeah. We've just come out of this pandemic, and a lot of kids were robbed of that critical time to develop social skills with their friends. And this is such a brilliant way of helping them to regain their self-confidence, learning how to socialize. So for the moms and dads listening out there who want to be in touch with you and want to send their kids to Wisdom Power Kids, or maybe just learn something themselves, how do we get in touch with you?
So my website is WisdomPowerKids.com, or Facebook is also Wisdom Power Kids. And I have tips and strategies and different things online, but generally I work one-to-one with children. Are
there any quick tips and tools you can give us? Even me as an adult, when I get nervous, breathe.
I know it sounds so fundamental, but sometimes, I'm not sure about you, but sometimes I'll just, if I'm feeling very anxious, I just, and I think, when was the last time I actually breathed? So putting that daily practice in to do some deep breathing helps to calm everything down, activates a lot of good things in the body, a lot of good chemicals, etc. So yeah, that's a little very basic tip, but 4 seconds in, hold it for 7 seconds, and breathe out slowly for 8.
So 4 seconds in, hold for 4, out for 4.
Absolutely. It's called diaphragmatic breathing, so it's a bit of a mouthful, or 4-7-8 breathing.
4-7-8 breathing. So in for 4, hold for 4, out for 4.
In for 4, hold it for 7, breathe out for 8.
In for 4, hold for 7, out for 8.
And that's why I get kids to practice, so that when they're in a situation where they're feeling nervous, they know what to do. It's not a matter of what was it? Was it 6, 8, 10? Just they know what to do.
So if you're sitting at your desk right now and you're feeling a little bit anxious and you're listening to Modiin and Beyond on Radio Modiin with the fabulous Dani Korach, the founder of Wisdom Power Kids, and you're thinking of how you're going to deal with everything a little bit later, you're going to breathe in for 4.
Absolutely. Hold it for 7.
You're going to hold for 7.
And then breathe out slowly.
You're going to breathe out for 8. I mean, I'm just thinking that's a great way of breathing as I navigate the traffic here in Israel. So how do we find Wisdom Power Kids? That email address again, please.
So the website is WisdomPowerKids.com, and on Facebook is Wisdom Power Kids as well. And all my contact details are there.
Dani Korach from Wisdom
Power
Power Kids.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming to visit us in studio
today.
Thank you.
It was lovely being here. Very exciting.
You see, if you do appear on Radio Modiin's Modiin and Beyond with me, Rolene Marks, and you are feeling a little nervous, go back to the lesson so eloquently explained by Dani Korach. So that's all from me, folks, for today. But you can join me again next Sunday on Modiin and Beyond as we take a look at what's happening in Modiin, Israel, and beyond. But right now, you can enjoy the silence with Depeche Mode. They might be doing some deep breathing themselves.
Words like violence, break the silence, come crashing into my little world. Painful to me, it's right through me. Don't you understand? Oh, my little girl, all I ever wanted, all I ever needed is Vows are spoken to be broken. Feelings unsensed, words are trivial. Pleasures remain, so does the pain. Words are meaningless and forgettable. Forever wanted, forever needed is here in my arms. Words are very unnecessary. They can only do harm.